you start tracking your results, and you start tapping into your data, and you see, do you think this ad's going to work better, or do you think this ad's going to work better? Which ad do you think is going to work better?
Right.
Greatest goals or worst misses? It's saying the same thing, more or less, except for one's misses, one's greatest goals.
I don't know, but a lot of times, especially on YouTube and stuff, things go trending even if they're not like all watched by football. So for instance, like not so long ago, there was this whole thing about a goalie from Chelsea who did not want to get off the pitch. And that was all trending on internet and people were watching it. But it was not only watched by
people into football. Yeah, everyone watched it.
Yeah.
So which do you think, based on that learning,
Right.
misses? Because you think, people will watch just people being silly. Yeah? What do you think?
It's completely personal, but as a sports fan, I like to watch highlights from football, even if I don't like football, because I like the athletic gesture,
Yeah?
even if I don't care about the match. So I
See?
would go for the left one,
Okay.
but I don't have data on that.
How many of you would go for the right one? Okay. How many of you would go for the left one? And how many of you would go for both?
Well, if you can.
That's the right answer. You don't know. And you don't know the answer for everybody. Because there will be a lot of people who will like actually to click on this, and there'll be just as many people who like to click on the other one. And what you can start doing with your data is going, right, all the sports fans are actually reacting really nicely to this one. And all the non-fans are reacting much better to this one because they find it just funny. And you could start segmenting your ad creative and your targeting and your messages based on actual individuals. You will start seeing that in the data, that where it's football fans, they're the ones reacting very well to the greatest goals because they just love reliving the best moments. Where it's not football fans, they actually like the entertainment value of it, and so they'll be more gravitated towards the misses. And that's not something you're going to know right at the start. You have to do it. You have to run the numbers, and then you have to learn from that. Yep. Let's try another one. 2 Facebook ads. Yep. Both of these are about the greatest moments in football history. One of them says football's greatest goals. Another one's a carousel ad, which lists the 5 greatest goals, starting with 5. No one expected this in 2011. 4, back to basics, 2017, and then people have to click through to look at the rest. Which do you think performs better?
That one. Why?
That one. Why?
Because it's an element of surprise. You don't know what they're talking about, but you've basically told them what it is there.
You expect to see what's going to happen next.
Interesting. Any other thoughts?
On the contrary, I think it's the left one because people won't have, in today's day and age, they want to know the information quite more quickly. They won't have the time to
So people want immediate answers. They're impatient. Yep.
I think the one on the left, because with all of them basically laid out in that ad, I would click through all 5 and then go, that's enough. And then I would move on to the next thing.
That brings us back to our initial question. What's one of the key metrics out here? Impressions, engagement. If people click through and see all 5, are they engaging?
No.
Yeah. So actually, we've got the engagement.
Does that count
Right?
as 5 click-throughs or 1?
It'll count as 5 clicks on the ad unit because people are engaging 5 times to go tick, tick,
So
tick.
they're not clicking to the full article.
We didn't say it was click to the website because that's clicks to website. That's different from engagement rate. There's still high engagement on this. Sorry, one second. I know you've asked the question. It's very important for you guys to remember the world you live in today. And this is something that you will not remember when you're in college or when you're just sitting and reading a newspaper, an article about the online world. It's something you'll realize only when you're starting to get working in the industry and doing this day in and day out. Engagement happens in milliseconds. If you think about yourself flicking through your Insta, flicking through your Facebook, you don't sit and read every little word, right? You're going, and it's literally that extra millisecond you spend that's a point of engagement. It's not a point of engagement, sorry, it's an indication of interest. That 2 extra milliseconds you took before you scrolled that one off shows, oh yeah, this might have been a bit more interesting to you. That is the speed of social media that you're working with today. So when somebody's actually taking the time to click and see 5 articles, that's gold. You're already hooking that person in way more than you ever would have. So don't discount those individual little as nothings. They're way more than most content gets online today, unfortunately.
Can you measure the actual milliseconds that it takes someone to read an article, for example, on Facebook, or is it only through clicks that you can measure it?
You cannot measure that unless you work at Facebook.
Okay.
Yep. So Facebook does measure that, and they count that all the time, and they rate that when they're actually deciding what more content to show you and what to show you less of. But they will not share that with you externally. You had a comment earlier? Oh, sorry, you did. Yep.
I was saying like it also depends who you're targeting, because a football fan might, where it says like no one expected this, they kind
Yep.
of know maybe the big moments of football, but no
True.
one expected. But someone who is new and perhaps doesn't know that much about it can expect anything, can imagine
Yep.
anything in their mind. So
You got a football fan here. Ask him. Which would he click on?
No, I was saying from my perspective, I would
Yep.
look at the positive ones, so greatest moments,
Yep.
because I'm not a football fan at all.
Ah,
But I'm
okay.
a sports fan.
Yep.
So I like to see the highlights while I find the full game boring.
Yep. Zubin, are you a football fan?
My sons are Chelsea supporters.
Oh, okay.
What
Which would he have clicked on?
Well, I used to be a Wimbledon fan, but then Wimbledon decided to go to Milton Keynes and become the MK Dons, and it all went to pot. So I would probably click on the right, because
Okay.
I'm the whole kind of impatience thing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's providing the 5 there for me, ready and waiting. So
Yep.
I'd rather do that.
So coming back to us then, as a marketing agency, which of these two should we do?
Thing is though, I believe your pitch, but
That was a trick question. You do both. You always do both. Let the data guide you. Let the data tell you what's working, and then you might find that, yeah, football fans like left or right or whatever. Maybe football fans knew already, so they don't care. Maybe they still care because they want to see what we thought was number 1, 2, and 3, and whether it matched their 1, 2, and 3. And if not, we're bloody stupid for not choosing their number 1, 2, 3. Who knows? I don't know. UEFA doesn't know till they actually do it. Nobody knows till you actually do it. Yep.
But if we want to expand the Indian market for football, we shouldn't target football fans, because they're already aware of UEFA 2020 and they're already mostly willing to attend UEFA 2020. While like expanding, we have to bring new people at being football fans. So I feel it would be more important if you need to choose targeting people that
Yes and no.
here and there with football and not fond of football.
Yes and no. I'll tell you why in a second. Zubin, you had a question?
Being devil's advocate just
Yep.
for a second. In that situation, wouldn't the client
Mm-hmm.
potentially turn around,
Yep.
UEFA in this case, and say, well,
Yep.
Farhad, you're the agency, you're the
Yep.
one, you're the expert here.
Mm-hmm.
Running both is going to cost me more money. Tell me which one's going to work, and I'll run with
Yep.
that.
And that's a very good point. To make that perfectly simple for the client, running both, how much more money will it cost you? If you think about it nuts and bolts, yeah? You've already got one image out here. Chances are all the other images out there, you already have them. You've used them at some way, shape, or form at some point in time, right? So really it might be a few minutes of cropping 5 existing images. You don't have to pay for the images. It's 5 seconds of time for 5 images. You put them up there. You then run them, and you take the data, right? What's great about the online world is you don't actually have to wait ages to find out. Within a day, you might find out that, yep, it's this one that's working better, or no, it's this one. And what have you wasted? A few clicks? That's it. You don't actually have to wait eons to find out. You don't have to spend lots of money. Where you have to spend money and start making those sensible assumptions is where, say, you had to create 5 different types of completely different video from scratch that you didn't know. That's where a client will come back to you and go, as my agency, I expect you to guide me on which one is the most important. And that's where, using the data from before and a good bit of brainstorming, you put that information together and you go, yeah, based on the data, my past experience, and what we brainstormed, we think this piece of inventory will work better than this video, so let's actually just work one video. But where it comes to something simple like this, which takes a little bit of time to do it, it always makes sense to go out there and do it and let the data teach you. I cannot tell you how often I've been proved wrong, how often my assumptions have been proved wrong, if they weren't backed up by data to start with. So it's very, very important that you go out there and give both pieces of creative a chance. Don't make assumptions. Don't do one of the most heinous crimes of marketing, of digital marketing especially, which is what we call me marketing. Don't just superimpose your beliefs and your thoughts on what you assume the rest of the world's going to like. Because no matter how much your team is really on the dot and whatnot, you will often be proved wrong. Let the data speak for you. And the only way the data can speak for you is when you make sensible initial assumptions, but then prove them very quickly right. And if you don't prove them right and you find both of these are actually getting way worse than you thought, stop it, do something else. Correct? Last one. First of all, who can spot the difference between these two? It's just one little difference.
The video and more.
Yeah. One says watch video, the other one's call to action says watch more. What your call to action says can have a massive, massive impact on what people do with your creative. This watch video most likely will incentivize people to watch the video in there. Watch more most likely will incentivize people to click to watch more similar videos. It's a very subtle hint in the person's mind. You guys as graduates or postgrads of marketing psychology should probably know this better than I do, right? So, given all of that, which one do you think will work better? Which one should we as the agency go with? This is where I see who's been paying attention to what I've been blabbering on. Both, yeah. Well done, you guys have been listening. That's correct. You go with both. It costs you nothing to create these two. Test both your calls to action. And this is where the point that you made earlier comes into play. You do have to use some intelligence. You don't go with watch video, watch more, download app, because that's also a potential call to action. As the agency and as a sensible human being, you should know that download the app is not a good call to action for this particular campaign. So you have to use your brain's common sense and a little bit of marketing acumen to decide, which ones you have to test. But then when it comes to simple things like watch video, watch more, don't make those assumptions for yourself. Let the data guide you. That's what we do. We let the data guide us. We look at the stats, we track the information, and then most importantly, act on that information. I can tell you how, I don't know how many clients we work with who do all of this. They will split test. This is called split testing, where you test one piece of creative versus another, or A/B testing. They will A/B test till the cows come home. They will look at all the data. They will say, yep, this one worked really well. And what do they do about it? Nothing. They'll still continue running both pieces of ad creative instead of stopping the one that's underperforming. And I can't stress how important that is. When you find something's not performing, don't just let it go on and on about it. Because, the machines are smart enough, Facebook's smart enough, Google's smart enough to show less and less of this. But it's still showing that. It'll still use up your budget on something that's underperforming, and you'll still use up campaign IQ, you'd still use up data, delivering something that isn't performing, when instead what you should be doing is taking something that is performing and split testing that further to make sure that works even better. So you know watch more is working better. Let's actually find out, should we say relive the greatest moments in football history, the action never stops, or watch how the action never stops? You start then testing other things. You say, okay, is this the best picture, or should we actually take a different picture? You start testing other factors once you know that certain calls to action are working better. You always refine and improve. Don't just go, oh, this is interesting data, keep it there still, and then try and improve while still having the ones that weren't working well. That's not called refinement. That's called just testing, looking at data, and then being stupid about it. Right?